Asterisk brothers and sisters of Africa, children of the Sahel, and all those watching across the globe, I greet you with the strength of our ancestors and the resolve of our forefathers. Today I speak not just as the leader of Burkina Faso, but as a humble son of Africa, witness to her pain, her struggle, and now her awakening. For far too long, the nations of the Sahel, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger have walked paths that were designed for us by others, paths that led us deeper into debt, into dependence, into division. And each time we tried to rise, our wings were clipped, not by our own people, but by the very institutions that claim to protect freedom and peace. Asterisk. Ask yourselves, why? Despite decades of foreign aid, military bases, and international summits, do our people still suffer? Why do our children remain hungry while our lands are rich? Why do bullets still fly in our skies while we export gold, uranium, and oil? These are not accidents. These are consequences of a system that was never designed for our liberation. Asterisk, and so I say this. Enough. We did not come into this world to be ruled. We were not born to be managed. We are not colonies anymore. We are sovereign people, and sovereignty is not a slogan, it is a responsibility. Asterisk. That is why we, the nations of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, come together under a new banner, the Alliance of Sahel States. This alliance was not created in boardrooms. It was not signed off by foreign powers. No, it was born out of the trenches of resistance, shaped by the cries of our mothers and forged in the fire of our shared struggle. We realize that when one of us bleeds, we all bleed. When a bomb explodes in Gao, the tremor is felt in Ouagadougou. When terrorists attack farmers in Tillabéri, we all lose our food, our brothers, our dignity. We are bound not just by geography, but by destiny. Asterisk. So what is the Alliance of Sahel States? It is a commitment, a pact between free nations to defend one another, to support one another, and to build a future that belongs to us, not to Paris, not to Washington, not to the IMF, but to the children of Africa. Asterisk. Through this alliance, we are laying down the foundations of Pan-African self-defense, of economic independence, and of a cultural revival that puts our people, not foreign interests, at the center. We are coordinating our military forces. We are strengthening our borders. We are cleaning out the corruption and the puppets that opened the gates to occupation in the first place. Asterisk. But this is not just about fighting enemies. It is about building something new, a new Sahel, a new Africa. An Africa where our languages are taught before foreign ones, where our resources are used to power our schools and hospitals, not skyscrapers in Europe, where dignity is not a privilege for the elite, but a right for every farmer, teacher, and soldier. Asterisk. To those who say, we are turning our backs on the world, I say, no, we are turning our backs on hypocrisy, on exploitation dressed as friendship. We are not against the world, we are for our people. And we welcome any nation that respects us as equals, but we will no longer beg. We will no longer kneel. We have stood up, and we are staying up. Asterisk. I speak today not to provoke, but to proclaim. Africa is rising and the Sahel is leading. Asterisk. To my brothers in Mali and Niger, courage gives us strength. Asterisk. To the young people of the Sahel, you are the fire that no empire can extinguish. Asterisk. To the elders who carried us through storms, your wisdom will guide this revolution. Asterisk. Let this be clear. The Alliance of Sahel States is not a temporary reaction. It is the first brick in the house of our future, a future where we define our own security, where we manage our own economy, and where no child has to die for the profit of another nation. Asterisk. This is just the beginning. May the world listen closely. Africa is no longer sleeping. Asterisk. My people, let us speak plainly. Our greatest struggle today is not just against terrorism, nor is it merely about changing governments or holding elections. It is about something far deeper, something that touches every corner of our lives. It is the battle against dependency. Africa is rich. We are rich in gold. We are rich in oil. We are rich in uranium, lithium, manganese, cocoa, timber, and mines that can build the future. Yet how can a rich man go to bed hungry? The answer is simple. The rich man does not control his wealth. For decades, we have lived under a system where our resources are extracted, refined elsewhere, and then sold back to us. Where our policies are dictated by international institutions. Where loans are offered with smiles but are chains. Where foreign armies claim to protect us, yet our people remain unsafe and our sovereignty is only written on paper. This is what I call economic occupation, a form of control more dangerous than colonial guns. You see, my brothers and sisters, a nation that cannot feed itself cannot defend itself. A nation that depends on others for medicine, food, fuel, and even information is a nation always at risk of blackmail. They say, "Here, take our aid." And we are made to smile and say, "Thank you," even when that aid builds their influence and robs us of our independence. Let me be clear. The Alliance of Sahel States is not anti-West, it is pro-African. It is not about closing our doors. It is about standing on our own feet so that when we open our doors, we are not crawling, we are standing tall. We are not asking for permission to exist. We are reclaiming the right to decide for ourselves. And this decision begins. With our economy, we must develop industries in Africa. We must refine our own minerals. We must create value in our countries before sending anything abroad. And if the international community truly believes in partnership, then let them invest. In our ability to stand, not in their ability to dominate. The youth of Africa are watching, and they are no longer fooled by speeches full of promises and policies written in other languages. They want action. They want dignity. They want opportunities that don't involve drowning in the Mediterranean, trying to escape a continent that should be the richest on earth. And let us not forget, our dependency did not come by accident. It was engineered. It was written into the trade agreements. It was embedded in the so-called development loans. It was enforced through coups, puppet leaders, and media campaigns designed to make us believe that without help from others, we cannot survive. But we are not children. We are descendants of kingdoms, of Mali, of Songhai, of Mossi warriors. We built cities when some parts of the world were still in darkness. We are not starting from zero, we are returning to greatness. This is why we are rejecting the mechanisms of control through debt, control through language, control through so-called security partnerships that destabilize more than they protect. We are beginning to build internal resilience, joint economic initiatives between our three nations, agreements to exchange resources without needing foreign currencies, training centers where African youth will learn to build, manufacture, and innovate right here on African soil. The dream is no longer distant. It is becoming real. And we invite our brothers and sisters across the continent to watch and join not with empty speeches, but with bold action. Let me repeat this for the world to hear. The Sahel will not be the back door of foreign influence anymore. We will be the shield and the spear. We will be the architects of a new economic model based on cooperation, mutual respect, and African pride. Let those who have ears hear. Let those who once exploited us understand. The age of quiet submission is over. We are not rebelling, we are restoring. Restoring what was stolen, restoring what was lost. And most importantly, restoring belief in ourselves. May the voice of The Sahel rise like thunder and echo across every corner of this continent. This is not the end of dependency. It is the beginning of freedom. To my brothers and sisters across Africa, to the leaders of proud nations, to the youth rising in courage, and elders standing in wisdom, the time has come to end the division that has crippled us for too long. We were not born divided. We were divided by lines drawn in Berlin, not in Bamako, Lagos, or Accra, lines that separated languages, tribes, rivers, and even families. Lines that turned neighbors into strangers and strangers into enemies. And those who drew these lines, they knew what they were doing. Because a divided Africa is a weak Africa. Today, when we try to trade among ourselves, we face barriers that don't exist when we trade with Europe. When we try to travel between African nations, we need more documents than we do to fly overseas. When we need help, we go to the West before we go to each other. But this must stop. This will stop. We must recognize a simple truth. Our future lies in unity. The alliance of Sahel states is only the beginning. It is not a closed circle. It is an open call. A call to Nigeria, to Ghana, to Senegal, to Chad, to every African nation that still believes in the dream of our forefathers, Nkrumah, Sankara, Lumumba, Nyerere, and others. We must build one Africa, an Africa where the borders do not divide our hearts. An Africa where we solve our problems among ourselves, not in foreign capitals. An Africa where our resources serve our people first, not the companies that exploit. My brothers, the West knows the power of unity. That is why they built the European Union. But when Africans speak of unity, they call us radical. When we speak of self-reliance, they say we are turning our backs on the world. When we stand tall, they say we are rebelling. But I ask you, is it rebellion to want freedom? Is it rebellion to want dignity? Is it rebellion to say that Africa belongs to Africans first? Let me tell you what rebellion is. Rebellion is what they did when they enslaved us. Rebellion is what they did when they stole our lands. Rebellion is what they do when they fund wars and fuel divisions, then sell us peace. But no more. Unity will be our shield. Unity will be our strength. Unity will be our strategy. And this unity must start with trust. Let us trust each other more than we trust those who once enslaved us. And let us speak to each other before we run to foreign powers. Let us build roads, railways, and digital networks that connect Africans to Africans. Let us circulate our own currency. Let us build an African monetary fund. Let us stop begging for loans that come with chains. To the leaders of Africa, I say this with respect. It is time to choose. You can no longer sit on the fence. You either stand with the liberation of Africa, or you continue to dance for those who do not wish us well. The youth are awake. They are watching. They are tired of the lies, the corruption, the manipulation. They want truth. Yes, they want justice. They want leaders who fight for Africa, not those who sell it in secret meetings. We must end the era where African leaders wait for foreign approval before acting, where African policies are written in Paris, Brussels, or Washington, where African armies are trained not to defend Africa, but to protect foreign interests. This is the hour of Pan-African renewal. We are not building a continent of slogans. We are building a continent of action, where words are backed by courage, where plans are backed by sweat, and where leadership is not about luxury, but about service. I speak as a soldier. I speak as a son of Africa. And I speak on behalf of every child who dreams of a future where they can thrive without leaving this land. Stronger regional industries with reduced dependency on imports, but we must be honest. To achieve this, we must first rebuild trust between African governments. No more playing double games with foreign powers. No more undercutting each other for short-term gains. The West is united in its economic front. Asia has built strong trade alliances. Why must Africa remain fragmented? Asterisk. It is time we create a continental monetary union rooted in transparency, cooperation, and accountability. Let me ask you, can you truly say you are sovereign when your currency is printed in a foreign capital? When your reserves are held by those who once colonized you? When your budget is dictated by international financial institutions with no stake in your people's future? Asterisk, no, my friends. That is not independence. That is illusion. And that illusion must end. Asterisk. Now I call upon the African Union, the African Central Bank, the African Development Bank, and every economic body on this continent. Start laying the foundations of a unified African currency. We can begin with regional currencies, perhaps with ECOWAS or SADC, and scale up as trust and infrastructure grow. Let our scholars, our economists, and our visionaries work hand in hand. Let our central banks meet not to compete, but to co-create. Asterisk, this will not be easy. There will be resistance. There will be pressure from within and without. But I ask you, if not now, when? If not us, who? Asterisk, the youth of Africa are ready. They trade across borders on their phones. They dream beyond artificial lines drawn by colonial maps. They are building a digital economy. We must match their energy. With bold monetary leadership, asterisk, let us also explore digital currencies African-controlled, secure, and inclusive. Let us bring fintech innovation into our villages and empower farmers, artisans, and students with tools for economic freedom. Asterisk, no longer should money flow out of Africa faster than it comes in. No longer should our treasuries be drained to service debt traps engineered by global lenders. Asterisk, and let the world understand. Africa does not want charity. Africa wants fair trade. Africa does not want pity. Africa wants respect. And respect begins with economic self-determination. Asterisk, who our heroes are, what our priorities should be, and how we should govern. If the world wants to engage Africa, let it engage the whole of Africa. No more bilateral fragmentation. No more manipulative diplomacy. It is time for a united African front, a front that demands fair representation at the United Nations, a front that insists on the permanent presence of Africa in the Security Council, not as observers, but as decision-makers, a front that no longer accepts that decisions about Africa are made without Africa. Asterisk, because if peace is negotiated without us, that peace is false. If development is discussed without us, that growth is stolen. If global rules are written without us, they will always be used against us. Asterisk, so we must organize. We must build continental institutions that work, not ones that sit idle during our people's suffering. We must invest in regional diplomacy and continental think tanks. We must educate our youth in Pan-African truths, not just colonial history. And most of all, we must trust ourselves. Asterisk, for too long, we have doubted the strength of African leadership. We have looked outward for validation, outward for answers, outward for affirmation. But leadership that bows to external praise is not leadership, it is submission. And Africa will submit no more. Asterisk, to the African Union, your time to rise as the true continental voice is now. You must evolve beyond protocol and procedure. You must become the shield that protects our sovereignty and the sword that defends our future. Asterisk, to ECOWAS, SADC, EAC, you must serve the people, not the puppets of foreign interests. Asterisk, to African media, amplify African truth. Let our stories be told by our own mouths. Asterisk, to our elders, we honor your fight for independence. Asterisk. To our youth, we pass the torch of Pan-African rebirth. Asterisk. And to the world, hear this. We will no longer apologize for being African. We will no longer dilute our demands to soothe your discomfort. We are not here to replicate your systems. We are here to build our own systems rooted in fairness, policies born of justice, leadership fueled by the will of the people, not the influence of international donors. Asterisk. Let the world take note. This is a new Africa. This is a bold Africa. This is a sovereign Africa. And we will not go back, not to dependency, not to exploitation, not to silence. Asterisk. So I end this message not with fear, but with fire. A fire that burns in every African child who dreams of mortality. A fire that blazes in every village still waiting for justice. A fire that will not be extinguished until every African nation walks with dignity, speaks with power, and stands with freedom. Asterisk. The old era is gone. The new era is now. And it will be shaped not by those who wish to manage us, but by we, the children of Africa. Asterisk. So rise, Africa. The world is watching. Let them witness our awakening. Let them hear our roar. Let them feel our unity. Asterisk. For we are not many nations with many destinies. We are one people. And our destiny is greatness. Asterisk. A revolution where we do not wait for validation from Western outlets. A revolution where an African voice is heard in Dar as loudly as in Paris. Where our culture is exported, not just our minerals. Where our identity is not something to be explained or defended, but something to be celebrated. Asterisk. Africa, the cradle of humanity, must now become the narrator of humanity. Asterisk. Because if we do not tell our story, others will tell it for us, and they will not tell it with love. Asterisk. This is my call to every African youth holding a phone, a pen, a microphone. Asterisk. You are the new soldiers of this silent war. Fight back not with bullets, but with truth. Reclaim our dignity not by asking, but by showing. We are more than they ever told us we could be. We are the authors of the next chapter. Asterisk. And in this chapter, Africa speaks for itself. Asterisk. My beloved Africa, we must now speak of a subject that many fear to confront. But I will not shy away from it. I will speak it plainly because truth demands it. Foreign aid. Asterisk. For decades, Africa has received billions, no, trillions in aid from former colonial powers, global institutions, and so-called development partners. And yet, what do we have to show for it? If foreign aid were the solution, Africa would be the most developed continent on Earth. But instead, year after year, summit after summit, loan after loan, we are still told to be patient, still begging, still bowing, still borrowing. Asterisk. This is not aid. This is a cycle of dependency. And it is time we break the chain. Asterisk. You see, foreign aid has not been a gift, it has been a strategy. A strategy designed to keep Africa submissive. To create the illusion of help while ensuring control. The money comes with conditions structural. Adjustments, political reforms, economic policies that serve them, not us. They tell us how to spend it. They choose the consultants. They fund projects that sound good on paper but collapse when the cameras leave. And when we fail because the system was never designed for our success, they blame us. Asterisk. But I say today, no more. Asterisk. Africa must stop being treated as a patient on life support, hooked up to foreign IV drips. Asterisk. We are not helpless. We are not incapable. Asterisk. We are rich, not just in resources, but in people, in spirit, in solutions. And yet we allow others to dictate our future in the name of help. They offer us aid, but in return they take control of our minds, our telecoms, our agriculture. Asterisk. They offer us loans, and we mortgage our children's future. They fund our NGOs and then write our laws behind closed doors. Is that aid? Or is it a new form of colonialism in a suit and tie?